Oh, wait, Craig is your father?
Yeah,
Craig,
Yes.
welcome to the show.
they're getting these reports. They're getting these recommendations from us, and we're getting them from Optmyzr, and it streamlines the whole process. So, I mean, we've got clients that have been with us for over over 10 years at the minimum. Some smaller clients have been with us for a lot longer.
And we have found we had a rule that sent us placements that we should add because they're converting. And you would think that, yes, converting placements should be added to campaigns. And we found that they shouldn't be added because the impressions and the clicks for those conversions, those specific placements weren't legit.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of Automation Layering Masterclass. My name is Fred Valles. I'm CEO and co-founder at Optmyzr, and I'm your host for this show. Today, we have Craig and Emilie from YourPPCPro. They've been using Optmyzr since 2014. And so in all those years that they've been using it, they've certainly figured out all the tips and tricks. And we're super lucky that they decided to join us today to share how they use Optmyzr for automation layering. So let's bring in our guests for today. Emilie and Craig, thank you for coming on the show today. So, Emilie, let's start with you. Tell us who you are, where you're calling us from, and what you do.
Yeah, my name is Emilie Eidson. I am a co-founder of EliminateWastedSpend, and I'm a page search specialist, is what I like to call myself. But I also
no laughing there, right? I mean, you're a PPC expert, like that. That's pretty cool, right? Why should you like calling yourself that?
I am calling from Rogersville, Tennessee, and I was born and raised in East Tennessee, and I ran the Eliminate Wasted Spend with my father, Craig Belcher.
Oh, wait, Craig is your father?
Yeah,
Craig.
Yes.
Welcome to the show.
Yes.
So we know you're Emilie's dad.
Yes.
What else do we know about you?
Actually, I mean, if you hadn't noticed, we are from the southern United States. So we're about an hour. If anyone's been to Gatlinburg, Tennessee, or Knoxville, Tennessee, we're about an hour east of there. But we have clients all over the world, and we're actually a family team. As Emily's already mentioned, and we've been doing this for. I've been doing it for I don't know how many years it is since 2007. So
That's fantastic. So family team. So yeah, let's talk a little bit more about how that started and how you work together.
All right. So yes, I'll do a quick spill really quick, and then let Emily jump in. She's done a lot of the automations, and I just ask her to do it, and she'll go into Optmyzr and find it. But basically, we're a small digital agency focused on family, small business. And the first business that I had was actually affiliate program software. And I said when I sold that business, I was going to do it the way that I wanted to do it, the next time around, and that was spend time with the family. I didn't know it was going to involve hiring family, but yeah, it's been a blessing. So.
I love that story because one of the things about Optmyzr is we really hope to give PPC managers back time so that they can do something besides work. And if that's family, then that's family, or if it's your hobbies. So,
Yeah.
but it is very interesting because now hopefully you do have more time thanks to automation layering to go home, have family dinners, celebrate together. But then yeah, even during the day, I guess you're always working together.
Exactly. I mean, it's really nice, and we've actually got the third generation coming up. So we've got a little 2-year-old that is sitting behind the computer right now, and pretending like her
Playing with
mommy.
the keyboard.
Yeah, she just sits there and she pretends like her mommy. So yeah, it's nice. But if it wasn't for Optmyzr, we wouldn't be able to do this.
But yeah, and Emilie, let's bring you in the conversation here a little bit as well. So obviously, you're Craig's daughter, and I understand that you do a lot of the account management.
I
So
do.
talk a little bit about the automation layers that you use. And so like let's maybe start with keywords, right? Keywords, like Craig was saying, have become very quote unquote automated because there's a big push towards broad match. Google's matching systems have gotten more sophisticated, but it doesn't always mean there's better queries that you're showing up for. So talk a little bit about maybe the keyword query management that you do in terms
Yeah.
of
So
automation.
back in the day, we used to pull manual search term reports every 30 days or so. And we would comb through those reports and look for negatives that we could add to the campaigns or potential converting keywords that we could add. But this was very time consuming, naturally, because depending on the spend, you could have, 500 queries or, up in the thousands of queries to review. So we use a combination of different automations from Optmyzr in order to simplify that management. One of the things I love about the automation layering is the fact that we can reduce the mental load on marketers. And we don't have to worry, if those keywords are legit or not. We can use a tool like Optmyzr and we can have an email sent with, queries that have so many impressions or so many clicks or conversions, however we want to manipulate the rules in order to have those reports sent to us. We can then review a condensed list of queries that are more relevant. They're being shown more often. These are the ones that we need to focus on in order to make our changes, our optimizations to the campaigns. So we'll take new search queries is one rule that we have, and it looks at new queries that have come in the last 30 days with X amount of impressions. And then we'll come through those and look for potential keywords that we can, or search queries that we can add as keywords, whether they be negative or positive, depending on how we want to proceed. So we also
Nice.
look at close variants as well. That's an entirely separate report that looks at keywords that are close variants that Google deems are close, but maybe they aren't.
Yeah, that makes sense. And what I love is that you've sort of split out query management into buckets. And so you said one bucket is what are the queries that are literally new to us that we haven't seen in the past? And then you have one that might be high converting. And so you break it out. And then what you give to the human, you and your team, is like, okay, here's a watered down list, or not a watered down, but like a focused list. And this is the thing you need to look for in that list. And then you make that final decision. And that's what we've always seen, is that human plus machine outperforms either one by themselves.
Yeah.
So I love how you've put that together. Now, to talk a little bit, there's one really interesting thing that I heard that you do, which is you actually don't always like high converting queries.
Placements.
Placements. Okay,
So
talk about that.
yeah, we have some optimizations that, or some automations that look at automatic placements in campaigns. And we have found we had a rule that sent us placements that we should add because they're converting. And you would think that, yes, converting placements should be added to campaigns. However, we found that the conversion rate was moderate. So it wasn't astronomically high, so that we couldn't. Back in the day when we would add negative placements, we would go by really high click through rates. So these conversion rates weren't really high either. So they slipped under the radar. And we found that they shouldn't be added because the impressions and the clicks for those conversions, those specific placements weren't legit. They're more than likely fraudulent because they convert, but they convert at a rate that it slips under the radar. So if you're not monitoring those placements, you could add them and the algorithm would teach it to send you more fraudulent traffic.
Right. Well, and that's what the fraudsters also depend on, right? Is like, how do we make it look just good enough that
Exactly.
you will just put it on the list? And so what you found is that there's sort of that like threshold above or below which it's like, yeah, that looks suspicious. And so that warrants further investigation as well. So I love that, because again, if you go to a standard automation, like you said, it's, oh, it drives conversions, then you should add it. And now guess what? I mean, you're just like a consistent paycheck to the fraudsters because you added it as a placement. So those placements will continue to appear.
And that's our whole
So yeah,
goal, is
brilliant.
that we don't want to we want to have that extra layer of protection. So we want to look at those instances that could slip under the radar, where we're spending money that we shouldn't be spending, and how we can cut back to send more relevant traffic to the client. And maybe we don't spend their budget an entire month, but the quality of the conversions that are coming in are better than what they would have been.
Yeah, I don't think I'd be upset as a client if you didn't spend all my money, but you still got me the conversions and the leads, and high quality ones at that. So that's great. What about ad text optimization? Is there anything you do there?
We have a couple of different ones. One of them is looking at responsive search ads that have a decline in click-through rate. And so if the click-through rate has declined over the last 30 days, then we'll go in and we will refresh the ad copy in order to potentially increase that click-through rate. And it's one of those things that if you didn't have the automation set up, you wouldn't know. You don't have the time to go in and look at all of the different responsive search ads in a campaign and check to see if the impression or the click-through rates increased over the last 30 days or not for all of the different accounts that you manage. Because in
Right,
order
and
to
the
have a
other
limit,
nuance here, I think the other nuance that you're sort of talking about, and I just want to clarify for our viewers, is that when you talk about increasing or declining performance of an ad, it's not always just like, oh, 30 days ago it was at a 5%, today that's at 3%. It could be those more subtle, gradual declines that take looking at multiple date ranges. So, 4 weeks ago it was a 5%, and then a week later was down to like 4.7%, and that was 4.6%. That's like that gradual decline. Any period over period, it'd be too small to notice. But if you look at that longer date cycle and just the consistency of every week, it's a little bit lower. That could be the thing that triggers, looking at it, right? And I think that's the thing that's hard to do if you just look at the native Google Ads tools. But if you bring in your own rules like you're doing, then you can actually say, oh, this is sort of the level of decline and the consistency of decline that warrants us investigating further.
yeah.
Yeah. That's great. To talk a little bit more about the process, and either you, Craig, or Emily, but you manage a large book of business. How do you sort of like figure out what to do for which account and when?
So I'll take this one for our clients. We have larger clients that we dedicate more one-on-one calls weekly, those sort of hands-on things. But the way that we use the automations in the accounts is pretty much universal, because it is looking at things that need to be done regardless of the size of the account. These are, insurance policies that we have in order to make sure that the campaigns are running smoothly. So we have ad disapproval notifications. If something has went wrong and there's been an ad disapproved, whether it was from an issue with a bug within Google that's caused a mass disapproval, or it's a URL that's down, it doesn't matter. But we get an email notification that something's wrong and it needs to be fixed. And I'll make a shameless plug here for a ad extension, ad asset feature that we can manipulate in Rule Engine to get those notifications for disapproved assets as well.
Yeah. That's great. Okay, so you got PPC insurance, and basically one thing that we do see with agencies is you go to your clients and you sell them a promise of some level of commitment and management. And it sounds like through automation, you're making sure that that base level is met, right? And then you can go above and beyond that. But at the very least, like you're saying, you can't just set it and forget it with these accounts. You have to monitor them. You have to do the basics, right? And that's like you said, it's time consuming. But you have the right automations in place, the right automation layers. then it enables you to do it for all the accounts that you have, and hopefully double your book of business and keep growing. Again, for that next generation, as your team starts growing, because you have more children in the family, and they all join the business, they'll need some work to do, right?
Exactly. Yeah, we've when an account comes to us, they stay with us. We have no problem. Because they know that their account is being managed. They're getting these reports. They're getting these recommendations from us, and we're getting them from Optmyzr, and it streamlines the whole process. So, I mean, we've got clients that have been with us for over over 10 years at the minimum. Some smaller clients have been with us for a lot longer, and we'll actually go through company transitions. So say take a Fortune 1000 company. We've been with one company that's been bought and sold 3 different times.
So you've been with the company longer than anyone at the company.
Exactly.
Right.
Which is it's pretty cool. But they know that the account is being managed to the best of
Yeah.
our ability, and that
Exactly. It's very valuable for your team to keep up with all the changes, and through Optmyzr know that many of these changes are covered, because it is hard and it does take an investment from an in-house team to put that in place, right?
exactly.
Yeah. Now, I mean, lots of happy customers. If somebody wants to become the next happy customer, where do they find you?
Actually, we are on LinkedIn, and we've also starting a smaller, service. So we turn down so many clients, because we simply do not have enough man hours to manage them. So we actually have created a smaller solution for at least the mom and pops. If they're wanting to advertise, then it's called EliminateWastedSpend, .com. And basically, we're going to, give them a set of optimizations, money saving optimizations that will at least be, focusing their budget on where it needs to be focused. But we really feel passionate about the small business as well. That was one of the reasons why I started the business. Was to the larger companies, they have payroll. They have people they have their own in-house talent as well. But the smaller businesses, they don't have a chance. If they don't have someone looking out for them, you know it, their budget is going to be ate up. So
Yeah.
that's
Hey, and I feel like we could have a whole discussion here because you've been in the space so long, as have I. And but the whole premise of AdWords back in the day was, oh, it's the small business, it's a level
exactly
playing, field, right? And
exactly.
it was like, oh, everybody noticed, and the people with the deep pockets and
Hmm.
they came in and they were like, okay, now we're owning this space, and it's really difficult, like you said, for a small business to come in. And Google, honestly, I think to their credit, they do make it easier, right? So PMax, listen, if you were e-commerce and you had no clue that you were mismanaging a shopping campaign, well then PMax is a godsend, right? Like all of a sudden you can actually compete.
Right.
But there's still and that's why I wrote my book, Unlevel the Playing Field. It's like Google has leveled it, but like let's tip it back into favor of people like you, people who are like the experts who want to put the time in. There are ways to do it,
There
right?
are.
And that's what we're talking about here is automation layering and just making sure that it's the consistency of managing the accounts. It's consistently looking at the right things. It's evolving your rules, right? You might start with a simple rule of this is how we look at what's a good placement, but then you become very sophisticated because you look at, oh, well, this is an indicator of fraud, so we need to build that in, and you automate that next level. And now someone else comes in and they can't, there's a big gap because you're so far ahead,
Ex-
it's hard to catch up.
So yeah,
Yeah.
it's fun. I mean, it keeps you on your toes. It's
Yeah.
challenging, and working with companies like you, it's fun. It's rewarding.
Yeah. Well, hey, thank you for being such a long time customer, and thank you for all the great work you do for your clients as well. Thank you so much, both of you, Emily and Craig, for sharing all of that. So if you want to work with them, EliminateWastedSpend.com is their new effort. It's also YourPPCPro.com, so check them out. And they're both on LinkedIn, so connect with them. Clearly, they're very happy to share the lots and lots of expertise they have in the PPC industry, so they're great to connect with. And then if you want to see what Optmyzr is all about, the tool that they're using, we have a 2-week free trial, so go and check that out at optmyzr.com. But Craig and Emily, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
Thank you.